horribly threatening them to come up with the answers they want. They are a disgrace to our nation and don't care how many lives they ruin. These are angry people, including the highly conflicted Bob Mueller, who worked for Obama for 8 years. They won't even look at all the bad acts and crimes on the other side. And then in big caps, Thomas, a total witch hunt like no other in American history.
And in the next tweet, he even refers to history, so I'm going to start right there. If we go 20 years, 25 years in the future and look back, you're going to have a different view of Bob Mueller. You're going to believe the truth of the matter, that Bob Mueller was part of 9/11. He was part of changing the evidentiary rules for federal courts, in other words, rigging the federal courts. He trained the people who were the patent thefts, who to this day still control the IP theft, and work with China because that's the way that they're basically marketing it, distributing it, and getting their piece of the pie. So Mueller was in from the beginning with the Clintons at Starr Law Firm in Little Rock, Arkansas. Believe it or not, that is still where they control the whole digital kingdom that belongs to the digital monarch, Hillary. And so Mueller has always been her hitman. He delivered yellow cake for her, uranium, to Putin personally in the Uranium One deal. So what we're watching is, here's Mueller, one of the most corrupt people in American history, that in the present doesn't seem like he's bad, just as they thought Hitler wasn't bad in the present.
And now we're finding out his relationship to this guy, Joe Sullivan.
Oh, yes. And Joe Sullivan is another one of these, well, actually he's a lawyer who Mueller trained in California, and basically has just been put in charge of all the security positions of many of the major top tech companies, one after the next, even though he had at Uber a breach of, 57 million private information on drivers and passengers. Doesn't matter. Then he goes on to the next high-paid position. So he's a Mueller prep. That is who Mueller has following him, is a group of people who want to be just like him. He is the king daddy right now.
Well, I think also more than a king daddy, I think he is the leader of this rogue army of anti-Americans that have entrenched themselves in our government. You know, part of it is the senior executive service, but it's a lot of other things too, and Mueller is the head. And I said many, many months ago, in the end, you're going to see these two factions rise up with their two leaders go and confronting one another, and it's Mueller versus Trump. Mueller is running the black hats, Trump's running the white hats, and so for him to call Mueller out like this, I think it's saying, look, dude, put your gloves on.
It's also telling Matt Whitaker, again, publicly, do your duty, do your job. And what is happening here is exactly what you said. Mueller is the field marshal. He's the SS field marshal attacking, and he doesn't stop attacking. He's been bombing Trump continuously since July 2016, when John Brennan started the counterintelligence attack against Trump running in the campaign, basically a rigging of our election, then turned into deposing our president, a regime change, a George Soros regime change, and Mueller is the field marshal, and he has to keep up the attack. So recently, another reason that Trump has been saying this in between the lines is because Mueller just asked for some further action against Rick Gates. He has harassed every single person that Roger Stone knows, including his housekeeper, everyone he's talked to in the last few years. Because why? Roger Stone communicated in a text message to Guccifer 2.0. Anyone could. He was on the internet. Because he once said that he had an inside track on Julian Assange, and they're getting ready to come out with some real breach material that is connected to Hillary, perhaps, and certainly Hillary's campaign. It didn't specifically say Hillary's emails and Podesta's emails. So they're going after Roger for bragging a little bit, okay? And everybody knows. And you have to get lawyers. And it's taking down all these people. That's what Trump is talking about. And Mueller's going crazy because he went crazy on, what's her name, Daphne Friedrich.
She's the judge in this case with Concord Management. And by the way, Concord Management, Attorneys, if you are listening to us and reading Truth News headlines, you're doing an amazing job calling this circus out the way it is, because I'm impressed every time those lawyers write something or say something in court. They just call out Mueller's BS.
They were 1 inch away from having Daphne say that the entire investigation is illegal.
More holodeck practice.
They barely got away by the skin of their teeth, Mueller and his gang of angry
But now
Democrats.
Mueller has to prove his case.
Well, he has to prove his case against Concord
Right.
Catering, which he can't,
Catering, yeah.
because Concord Catering didn't have a troll shop. And that troll shop was in existence 4 years before 2016. It had nothing to do with the Trump election campaign. And that's already a proven fact, and everybody knows that. Because we know where it came from. Daniel Jones and his camcorder group carried on for GPS to create oppositional research against Trump, and they gave it to Mueller. That's where Mueller gets all his stuff, gang. Mueller's an idiot. All he is the frontline defense hitman. He is a Chicago mafia hitman, trained by the mafia, second in charge of the mafia of Chicago, which was Hillary's dad. Hillary Rodham Clinton, Hugh Rodham, Al Capone's. He followed right after Al Capone. He was an alderman in the Chicago mafia. The worst. And so Valerie Jarrett carried on that tradition. Michelle Obama worked in tradition. That's where Mike Obama and Barry Soetoro, they all worked under Mayor Daley, the most corrupt city government in American history. And who took it over afterwards? Rahm Emanuel. So when someone was asking me who's in charge of the Chicago mob now, it's Rahm Emanuel. But anyway, we need to just go on.
Okay.
I want to go just to the point that the reason Trump is all upset about this is because they thought it was coming to a close, because they were finally getting ready to answer some questions for Mueller. And I want to make this clear, because there's many victories that can happen that if you're not paying attention, you won't even see them happen. And there are gigantic victories. And here's a victory that's about to happen, very possibly. And that's that Trump is going to answer some written questions about obstruction of justice. Well, there can be no obstruction of justice with Comey, because that was his subordinate. It's not possible. So he can answer those questions. But if he answers the questions, then the entire content of Robert Mueller's report, and remember, after all of this, last count, 20 million, probably 30 million by now. After all of that, there's going to be a report that's going to be made right now, if it was made. And the reason Mueller had to file some more documents was because he couldn't quit while Whitaker was the acting attorney general. Because if he did, he would make sure that the report was never made public, except he would give a summary of it stating the same thing Rod Rosenstein always stated. There's no collusion, there's no corruption, there's no conspiracy, and Trump was never under investigation.
Okay, so the next tweet is a little bit about that history. Universities will someday study what highly conflicted and not Senate-approved Bob Mueller and his gang of Democrat thugs have come to destroy people. Why is he protecting crooked Hillary, Comey, McCabe, Lisa Page and her lover, Peter Strzok, and all of his friends on the other side? Of course, Aim for Truth patriots know exactly why he's covering for these globalist puppets.
Turn my back on you.